All right, so we're here at the Iowa Pork Producers Association building in Des Moines, and I'm with Cindy Axne, Congresswoman of the 3rd District here in Iowa, and of course Undersecretary USDA Jen Moffitt. Thank you so much. Jen, first of all, big news coming out of USDA today for processors, meat lockers. Tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we announced a new round for our meat and poultry inspection readiness grant program. So that is $23 million that we are announcing and releasing today, and inviting people to apply. And it is really about supporting producers as they're looking at achieving either the federal grant of inspection or cooperative interstate inspection readiness grant. And so it's what type of equipment or food safety measures that they need to take to be able to achieve that inspection. We did our first round last fall. We released $32 million then, and supported over 160 projects around the country, 3 of which are here in the Congresswoman's district. And just really excited about this next round and seeing the innovative projects that come to us for projects.
And Congresswoman, as you said, 3 of them in your district. I mean, obviously, we've talked about this before, you and I, about the fact that we need to prop up these processors in local areas to help keep these farmers going and keeping the quality there and the supply there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And the Undersecretary got to hear from, Afton and Corning and Milo, and I think you saw, I'm from Milo, right? So we know this. It's a very, very small town, limited, folks that live there. And when I say they are producing above and beyond, they are, it's astronomical what we're getting done here. But we need help because we just don't have enough capacity, and we are really reliant on these individual lockers to help us. But that's great. This help is going to be what we need, because I'm not kidding when I say we do have the best product here in Iowa, and we like to keep it that way. And that means controlling everything that we're doing and working with lockers that they want to work with, and giving us the capacity to do that will help us to be able to continue to supply for this country. So we're excited about this.
Another question, though, as we heard from some of the people there, you're looking at bookings all the way through this year into next year and most of next year already. And some people having to drive 2.5, 3 hours to process because of the size or what they have. What can be done to help grow that and help relieve that problem?
Well,
besides more on top of what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. The first step is the funds to increase the size and capacity of the processing plants, which is what we're doing right now, and which is what I was out talking with Secretary Vilsack about last year. So that's happening, and it continues to happen, and the growth, you just keep putting more funds on top of it. So that's number one. Secondly, then, is to work with what the Undersecretary was discussing with these technical grants, help the farmers in particular and the lockers, but really get down to some of those other nitty-gritty issues that they're facing and figure out how to write a best grant to get the funding for that. So I think that's the other piece that's going to be incredibly helpful for them. But we also, and the Undersecretary heard, we need employees because they're having a hard time. We can put the money out there for them to increase their plant size. We can develop new processing capabilities, but if we don't have the folks, we're going to have a really hard time. And so we do need more help with that, and that's another thing that we heard. But so I'd say once we get these 3 pieces in place and address the employee aspect of it, we should be in a really good spot here in Iowa.
And Undersecretary, you had that announcement with some of the technical assistance. Tell us about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So so we have the Meat and Poultry Inspection Readiness Grant Program, which we are just announcing today. But back in February, we announced the Meat and Poultry Expansion Program as well. So that's about also expanding capacity, really supporting with the demand that's out there for producers to be able to access new markets through processing capacity as well. So that is $150 million through that program. And in tandem with both programs is the need for technical assistance. As I've traveled around the country now, visiting with some of our previous recipients, I've heard how important it is to have someone support them through the process, help with the grant writing, also help with things like feasibility studies and marketing plans and food safety plans and HACCP plans. All of those different things that make up the application are really, really important. And so these technical assistance providers, so we named 3 today, and I'm certainly looking to add more in the future, but these 3 technical assistance providers are people who producers can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, can you help me? Can you come and look at my site, look at my operation, and start to work with me so I can develop a grant? to be able to access these funds.
And Congresswoman Axne, you hinted also at the fact about getting employees. There's multiple reasons we heard why they couldn't get employees. One, we've talked before about daycare, childcare, that kind of thing. Also the fact that insurance can sometimes be a problem for these businesses. But also the fact that they're saying they're getting online applications only to get calls back saying, well, we just wanted to fulfill our unemployment requirements. I mean, what do we do to fix that?
Well, there's a lot of things we actually can do. First, we need to have immigration reform in this country. I can't tell you how many times I have somebody come in from the ag community into the office in DC, and it's all about what can you do about immigration so that we can get more workers. So we absolutely, need to address that. I look at, though, things like really supporting rural America and keeping people in our towns and not having them leave. And that's why things like the Rural Reinvestment Task Force that I am co-chairing, the support we're trying to build and get to put an office in the White House for just rural development and oversight. All these things play into really having a community where we keep our young people and we have people who want to go there and work. I can tell you, I firmly believe we've got folks from around the country actually who want to come to Iowa and live in our rural communities. They just can't find the jobs. We in some cases don't have the health care that they might need. Housing is a huge issue, childcare. So I think if we work on all those things, what we're going to do is be able to retain more young people in our rural communities, draw more people there who want more relaxed, I would say, lifestyle, away from all the cacophony of a big city, which is Des Moines, right? And we've got a lot of people who want to stay out in rural areas, but also work in Des Moines too. We haven't made a good system for that right now, and we could really be supplying a lot more to our rural communities to build economic support so that we do keep people there. That's what I want to do. I want to look at this holistically. There's no magic button. That's the deal. Immigration reform's one way. Holistically looking at growing rural communities is the other. And then I would say, I did and want to talk to you about this, was hearing, we should use some tax incentives for our farmers and our small producers so that they can do some of the things that need to get done. And I look at that as like tax incentives. It's small business. It's just small business is what it is. So can we find some other incentives to help them compete? And so I'd like to do more to figure out what we could do to talk about that.
All right, well, Congresswoman Axne, Undersecretary Moffitt, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.